First things up, we got a brand new Morbius trailer. Brand new Morbius trailer. So I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I got the same vibes that I was getting when I first saw the Venom trailer,
Yeah,
especially the brand new one.
Absolutely, 100%.
I've said
So
this before, but I think that Sony is doing a great job in recapturing the feel of all the early 2000s comic movies, where they're so simple and stripped down, and they just want to be about the one character, and it's so refreshing in this wasteland of everything needs to be connected. Like just like, oh, it's a Morbius movie, whatever. Let's mash together like two or three arcs and then let it run.
And it's schlocky, like it's
Yeah,
2000 schlock, you know.
it's Daredevil, Punisher, Slock.
Yeah, Blade. I mean, the Blade's the movie that always comes back to me when I see these things because I mean that worked back then, so why not?
Oh yeah, that worked. I'm talking more about the one that worked less. That's why I mean
Yeah, yeah,
Daredevil.
yeah.
Like Irish Bullseye is the classic. Colin Farrell.
That fight in the playground or whatever it is in the Daredevil when they're on swings or jeez, that's not the best scene in the world, but yeah.
Wake me up inside, Comrade. Wake me up
wake
inside.
me up. Listen,
Oh,
Daredevil is a
God.
10 out of 10 movie. All
It
right,
is.
10 out
It
of
is
10.
better than the TV show.
All right, bro. All right. Anyway, all right, we're not doing this. We're
We're
not
doing,
doing this.
of course.
No.
When I was a little boy, I was annoying and I talk like this. But anyway, let's go on. Morbius trailer, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It's cool. I've never really read a ton about Mobius.
Who has?
Um, I remember him from the Spider-Man TV show.
Yes,
Uh, and
Everyone does.
that's
yes.
about the main introduction I've had to him. With they wouldn't let him have suck people's blood from the neck, so he had to have go after their plasma, and he had to have bloodsuckers in his hands. So
It's
hopefully
creepier.
we get a
Which
post-credit
made him
scene for
so
that.
much creepier. That was
Yes, thank
terrifying with
you
those fucking
Ah,
exactly.
suckers. Like that was the worst thing ever.
you did like little kissing sounds.
Yeah, yeah. Ugh.
So that's my history with Morbius. Hey, trailer looks fine, looks simple. Like Elvis said, not something that has to be connected to 30 other movies. So,
But it
it could be
tries.
fun.
It tries. Um.
Yeah, I don't think there's
But
much to add.
guys,
Yeah.
I am Venom.
Oh yeah, I don't. Again, I don't. I don't understand. Okay, we went through this with Venom before, so I don't know why people are like seeing this trailer, seeing how just so like streamlined it is, and they're saying like, "Oh, this looks like shit. This looks so bad." Like you guys said the thing about Venom. Venom turned out to be really entertaining. So why are we not giving this the same benefit of the doubt? You know, I mean,
Because it's a Marvel movie, not from the MCU. So of
oh,
course,
but we saw how that well that
you
worked
know,
out.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
so of course it has to be garbage in the mind of the masses.
Exactly.
I
I,
really think this is just Sony. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and I think there's also some residual like hate against Jared Leto as well because, I mean,
Mm, that's
he
understandable.
wasn't exactly the best Joker ever, so to
Um,
Hmm.
speak.
and I think he did
All
he like run
right.
a cult
Okay.
for a
Yeah.
little bit in
Excuse me.
2019?
Yeah, I think he still does. Like
Yeah, like
they
it.
get out
Oh,
in the desert and put on
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
some
he
like
funky
his
does.
robes and
commune.
yeah.
I think Jared Leto's Joker is better than Heath Ledger's by a milestone.
I don't
So
believe
I
so.
don't get the hate there.
I think that that Jared Leto's Joker just needs a chance. I think that if I don't think that the Ayer cut will be any good. Honestly, I think it'll be more interesting. I don't think it'll be any good, but I think that if nothing else, I think Jared Leto probably has a really good Joker in that cut, mainly off the strength of all the cutscenes that we
Mm,
know of from Harley Quinn. Because if you take it to the context that they really like mangled and deleted a lot of Harley Quinn scenes in the Suicide Squad,
Hmm.
the first one, then you see how fucking much Margot Robbie is acting her ass off, and I have to believe that Joker was at least matching that strength. So I want to see just for him, but I
mm.
think it's gonna be bad anyway.
I was gonna just saying I don't know if you'd ever get it just off the strength of. So hey, we see his performance in Air Cut, and what if it turns out to be kind of good? That's going to throw a monkey wrench into the Joker sequel they're doing. It's going to once again bring out all of the worst aspects of the Snyder fandom and the Ayer fandom, asking to, you know, restore Leto and whatever. And we're moving past all this, guys.
Yeah, Snyder cut, one and done, never happening again.
Well, okay, but let's get back more on topic. What I liked about the Morbius trailer, and I mentioned this before we start recording, I I, I think that it's surprisingly very faithful because I was reading the first two issue introduction of the Morbius character in the Spider-Man comics. I think Amazing Spider-Man number 101 and 102, and like there's a scene in the trailer. It's been in all the trailers so far where like he's being chased on like a steamship by guys with guns and all that kind of stuff. Like, hey, that's straight out of the comic. I mean, the comic itself was lifting that from like Dracula. That's like the big scene in Dracula where Dracula
Hmm.
kills all the people
Yeah.
on the ship and he arrives on
Mm.
a ghost ship. But like I think that's really cool. I haven't read much of Morbius. I read a couple of Tomb of Dracula and Couple of Blade where he like kind of crosses over with them. Um, and so I thought that when I saw that in the trailer when they came out like a year ago, the first trailer, I'm like, oh, that's a Dracula nod. And like, oh no, it's a nod to the nod, and that's really fun.
I think it's even like I think it's a nod to like Hammer horror movies. I think it's there's a Hammer Dracula where he's on a ship like just running around like viscerally biting people, but I could be wrong.
No, I couldn't believe that because like that's a big set piece in the novel. So Hammer Horror, I think, were for all their faults, really try to hew close to the novel, even in like stuff like for the one where Dracula time travels like 50 years in the future.
Yeah,
They tried their best. One of my favorite things about that initial issues though is when Spider-Man's like, you're like a kind of vampire, and Morbius goes, yeah, I guess your feeble human mind would think of a vampire. I mean, there's no word in human existence to describe the being I am, but I guess you'd call me a vampire. I'm like what? You're Morbius, the living vampire. That's it. Two words: living vampire. Simple. Well, you're not like insanely like oh, I can't comprehend this guy with white skin and fangs and needs blood. There's no words, right? I thought that was really funny.
I mean, maybe he was just like really thinking of like the Comics Code Authority, when you couldn't call something a vampire, and he was like, no, I just suck people's blood, but I'm not a vampire.
Wait. You couldn't call things vampires?
No,
I don't.
no. So here's the thing with the Comics Code Authority, right? They were trying to kill EC Comics, who did these horror comics in the 1950s. You may have seen them, like Tales from the Crypt, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
They were very like visceral, very graphical comics about zombies and stuff like that. Like people died, and it was very graphic. So they put in there was like a clause in the Comics Code which was like a straight up ban against supernatural creatures killing people. You couldn't use the word zombie. You couldn't use the word vampire. There were all sorts of like stipulations and rules. I think this was lifted by the time Morbius appeared,
Yeah.
but it was very recently. It was like 1969, I think, was the first amendment to the Comics Code Authority. Morbius first appeared in 71 or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very recent event that you could actually start calling things zombies in a comic book.
I could see that because even in his first appearance, they only call him Morbius the monster.
Yeah.
They don't and like that's his title. Like Spider-Man says, you're like a vampire, but like they don't call him that. Like I'm some sort of creature. Like okay,
Yeah, and you're a couple of years out before Marvel started doing like actual horror comics again, like Tomb of Dracula,
yeah.
that kind of thing, where they were overt about it. They had these horror-esque characters, but they were sort of like tiptoeing around the entire that uncomfortable area. But no, you can have vampires in comics.
And that makes me hope that the movie it's one of those how, like in zombie movies the characters have never seen a zombie movie. I'm hoping in the Morbius movie that no one's ever heard of vampires, and so he's like, I don't know what I am. Like just like never use the word vampire. I think that'd be a really cool callback.
This is a reality where the Blade movies never came out.
Yeah, because Blade exists. I want to see in Morbius 2 the crossover with Blade that Stephen Norrington wanted to do. In
Yes. Yeah,
Blade
yeah.
versus Morbius.
The original ending scene that you can actually find if you look for it online.
Yeah, and I thought that was really cool. That's a fun idea. I like Blade too, but I think that would have been such a better idea than what we eventually got because it's such a simple premise, and I would love it. I would honestly, Stephen Norrington hasn't directed a comic movie since League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Bring him back.
I
Come on,
wonder
Sony.
why. I
Come on,
wonder why.
Sony. Hey, not the worst, just really bad.
Yeah.
But bring him back, Sony.
But imagine if they'd gone with that ending for Blade 1. Like,
Yeah.
imagine where would Blade 2 pick up? Like, okay, he sees Michael Morbius standing on a rooftop, so does episode 2 just end with him running towards him? And how does that work?
I would imagine how? No, I don't know.
Would it have ended on like a freeze frame? Like they jump towards each other and it freeze frames and then it's like to be continued.
It'd be like No More Heroes, where
That
No
would
More
be so
Heroes
fucking
ended
corny.
with Travis Touchdown and his brother like about to kill each other, and then like the sequel picks up like 10 years later and it's never mentioned again.
But no, it's an interesting point you bring up because Venom reused ideas for Spider-Man 3, the Raimi movie.
Yeah.
The symbiote was originally going to be brought back to Earth by John Jameson. That happens in the Venom movie. There was going to be a transference of the symbiote from Anne Weying to Eddie Brock through a kiss. That's also in Venom. So, I mean, if they can reuse those things, those ideas, why not reuse them for Morbius? Like, do it. Like, let's just bring these ideas back again. I don't know.
Yeah, especially since Sony really wants to have the MCU's balls in their grip. Like, oh, you got to play by our rules, and they're doing a good job because like they're really doubling down on the MCU stuff in this new trailer, and I don't think Marvel would take that line down unless Sony had the upper hand.
Wait, speaking of which, how'd you guys feel about? I was gonna ask, how'd you guys feel about Vulture supposedly being? We don't know if he's Vulture, but Keaton's in the trailer too. So, what do you guys think about that?
It's more, Sony tying their universe explicitly to the MCU, like you guys were just mentioning. I don't think there's any way that Marvel can push back against this without Sony saying, okay, that's fine. Hey, we're taking Holland after we're done with this third movie, and we're just gonna go make our own films. Marvel.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Like, there's no way they could do this. There's no way they can get away with any of this if Marvel hadn't been at least humbled by the whole we're canceling Spider-Man No Way Home thing from like 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I think Feige and the folks at Disney eventually want to get to Miles and some of the other Spider people. You don't get to that point if you're not playing nice with Sony. So they just got to suck it up and take it for a while.